بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا
بسم الله
وانفعنا
الرحمن
بما
الرحيم.
علمتنا
الحمد
وزدنا
لله
علما
رب العالمين،
وعملا وفقها في
والصلاة
الدين يا رب
والسلام على
العالمين.
سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين.
We've reached almost the end of the book of Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala. I'm not sure if we are going to finish it today or next week. Well, let's see what Allah facilitates subhanahu wa ta'ala. So towards the end of the book, Al-Ghazali was talking about death, remembrance of death, and the importance of this, and the effect of remembrance of death on our life and our actions. So from the last things which I want to share with you from the book, and as I've mentioned many times, that I'm not reading word by word from the book. So I've skipped many things, which many of it is not relevant to us. So I've done my best to choose what is relevant and easy to understand and apply, inshallah ta'ala. So he mentioned that after death, people will have regret and remorse and pain for not taking the opportunity and doing more in the dunya. But when it's too late, you cannot go back. That's it. So Ghazali has given, as usual, he has beautiful examples. So he has given an example of a regret. He said, imagine that you are with a group of people and you went into a dark place. And in that place, there are many stones. So your friends started saying, come on, let's carry these stones with us. You never know, we might need it, and let's do our best as much as we can. And he said, are you fool? What's wrong with you guys? These are stones, and we can't see it even. What are these stones? So don't waste your time, don't waste your efforts, don't waste your energy. And he didn't bother to carry anything even. Said, I'm free now, I can just go and enjoy my time. And I have no loads, I have no pain to carry any stone or anything. You are so foolish and you are carrying all these stones. You don't even know what are these stones. You're just overburdening yourself with these stones. And I don't want to do that. So they carried these stones and you carried nothing, and you were just jumping and joking and mocking them and laughing at them all the way till the light started coming through. And then you've seen that all these stones which they have carried were jewels and rubies and precious stones, which is so expensive. And you said, really? I missed a lot. And then they started mocking you. They went and they sold these stones and they made a big fortune, and they started giving you some of the small gifts to you, the crumbs, if you want. So Ghazali has given this example, and he said, what do you feel if you were that person? Just enjoying your time, enjoying your life, and you don't want to carry any burden, you don't want to suffer, you don't want to have any responsibility. All what you want to do is just to laugh and joke and have fun and no responsibility and this and that. Is it not the case of many people? In fact, yes, it is. Sometimes we might be that person, God forbid, but yeah, it might be sometimes. So Ghazali is saying, be careful. The regret, the remorse which you will have after that, it's irrevocable. You cannot go back and turn the clock back. You can't reverse it. That's it. One way. So he's showing us here that we need to take the opportunity which Allah has given to us, and we need to, even if we have some difficulties, if we have some pain whilst we are carrying these responsibilities like these stones, and you have some probably a long way to carry, and you have sometimes to do some rest, sit down or have a nap or to have some rest, that's absolutely fine. But don't waste the opportunity which Allah has given to you. This is what Ghazali is saying, rahimahullah ta'ala, while giving this example. And probably he just brought to our attention the example of getting into the darkness, because unless you see your reward in the akhirah, you don't know what the reward is. You've heard about it. You've heard about the eye that have never seen and the ear that never heard of. Yes, but unless you see, you don't know what exactly the reward is. So it's like sort of the darkness which he's addressing here, and the burden and the heaviness and the weight which we are carrying. It's the weight of the amana of salah, amana of zakah, the weight of fulfilling our responsibilities and our duties towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our family, and so on and so forth. So yes, if you don't want to carry any responsibility, you want just to walk free and very light and enjoy and have fun, you can, but you will regret wasting your time, wasting your life which Allah has given to you as a gift. And then you can't turn the clock back when you know exactly that, yeah, these are the fortune which I should have participated with them. I wish I carried as much as I can. I wish I've done this. I wish I listened to them. Exactly. So although it's not a perfect example, but he's just trying to give us a taster, if you want, on how can someone have a deep regret that it was under my fingertips. I was just able to grasp and grab as much as I can. I was able to do a lot, and probably it might be sometimes as well, I'm stronger than them. I could have carried a lot more than them, but I was just mocking them. I was having fun. I was ridiculing them. This is the regret. So Ghazali is saying, imagine this person, that the immense regret which he has, it will be multiplied for somebody who didn't do anything good in the dunya. And then when he hits the akhirah, he knows the truth, and he knows that, what a waste. I wish I listened. I wish I have done this. And we've seen these verses across the Quran. They will say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these people and the like of these people, they will say, Arji'na na'mal salihah. Give us a chance to go back, and we promise you that we will do good. It's too late. There's no way back. That's it. You are done. You've been given the chance many times, but you wasted your chances. So you live forever with this regret. In dunya, you might have some regret and then you can catch up sometimes. Yes? As long as you can breathe, you can still do something. But when your life ends, that's it. You are done. You can't add anything to that. So this is what Ghazali rahimahullah is saying here. That this regret is very heavy regret. So you've lost all these jewels and the opportunity to be a rich person, the opportunity to be, yes, you have all those actually who carried the stones and suffered carrying them without knowing what are these stones, etc., because it was dark and so on. And they were carrying it all the way. They have now enjoyed the fruits of their work. And you've done nothing. So don't blame anyone. Blame yourself. So, rahimahullah, Ghazali gives some examples. Sometimes it's straight to the point. So he said the state of the forms of worship is like these stones. So some people do more acts of worship, and some people will mock them. Wasting your time doing this salah or doing this, I don't know what, or wasting your money by giving the poor people, or all these kind of things. But you will see the fruits of that in the akhirah. And for those who they have done nothing, they will have the big regret. And Ghazali quoted an ayah, rahimahullah, and afidu alayna min al-ma'. He talks about the people of Jahannam. They will call upon the people of Jannah and say, please send us some water or something from what Allah has provided for you. People of Jannah will say to the people of hell, Inna Allah harramahuma ala al-kafirin. Allah has forbidden this for the disbelievers. We can't give you anything. You have chosen not to believe, and this is your choice. You rejected the akhirah, you rejected God, you rejected the books, you rejected the messengers. This is your choice. No one can force you. And the prophets and the messengers and the scholars and the script and the book did tell you about the consequences of these choices, warned you against these choices, but you insisted. Then it's forbidden for you now. You can't get anything because you believed in nothing. And then he mentioned something so beautiful. Probably this is, you won't read this elsewhere. Ghazali says that people of Jannah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will flood them with his light. So his light will be like flooding on them. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this particular favor from Allah Azza wa Jal is equivalent, it's incomparable. You cannot compare it with any favor, with any joy, with any, nothing is matching this. So the light which they receive from Allah Azza wa Jal is the best ni'mah they can get in Jannah when they see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's better than the Jannah itself. Better than any bliss in Jannah is to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and enjoy this in Jannah. So Ghazali says, and this is a bliss that cannot be compared with any other thing. And it's very difficult to compare it with the dunya joys. There's nothing in the dunya like that. Nothing to compare it with. And then he mentioned, rahimahullah, that people of Jannah, the lowest person of people of Jannah, will be given 10 times as the dunya, as in the hadith that been narrated in Bukhari and Muslim, that the last person who will leave Jahannam after he takes his share from the punishment for his bad deeds, stuff, what have you, but he's a believer. A long hadith, very beautiful, emotional as well, hadith. So the summary of the hadith, that person will be the last person who will leave Jahannam from the believers. Of course, Jahannam is still full of disbelievers, but this is the last person who will leave Jahannam from the believers after he has made his sentence, if you want. Allah will say to him, go and, I'm summarizing the hadith, it's a very long hadith. So Allah will say to him, go and enter into Jannah. And that person will go. And it seems to him, he didn't yet enter into Jannah. It seems to him, it's full. He will come back and say, Allah, it's full. Allah will say, go and enter into Jannah. He will go and come back and say, Ya Rabbi, it's full. And Allah will say, go, you will have the equivalent of the dunya and 10 times. This is the lowest person in Jannah. Allah will give him the equivalent of the dunya multiplied by 10. So imagine, this is the lowest person. What about the highest person? Of course, inshallah, the highest person is Rasulullah in Al-Maqam al-Mahmud, the special station, the praised station, which Allah prepared only for one person. And Rasulullah says, ask Allah to make this station for me. Inshallah, hopefully, yes, it is for him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So look at the difference between those who did carry the responsibility, carry the burden. No one says that the act of worship of free of burden. There are, of course, burden of doing your worship properly, learning about what nullifies it, learning about the etiquettes, learning about the conditions, learning about all the details that relevant to your worship, whether it's salah or siyam or transactions and halal and haram, or social dealings, or political issues or financial issues, you name it. So yes, it's not easy. No one says it's easy. But what makes it easy, you know, that this is, as Imam Ghazali mentioned later, which we'll read inshallah ta'ala. He says it's like the example of somebody who's traveling back home. So he goes through this bumpy ride and difficulties and changing airplanes or changing trains or cars or whatever it might be the case, or the vehicle. Again, it's not easy, but what makes you carry this burden, that you will go home and then you have the rest. It's the same thing here. So you carry this burden because you are going home. Home is the akhirah. Dunya is not home. Dunya is just, we are passing by the dunya like a bridge. The other end of the bridge is the akhirah. So what the Ghazali is saying, rahimahullah ta'ala, be careful not to regret losing the chances which Allah has given to you. So be careful. The other thing Ghazali mentioned, again, I'm skipping stuff and things and just going to some selections. He says, your ruh, your soul, is from the divine world. It's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because it's from the divine world, you are always longing for the divine. You are always longing to the heaven, because from there you came. And this is your soul, your ruh. And because you are shackled by your desires, it pulls you down. So you have these opposites, two opposites. One pulls you up to the heavens, one pulls you down to the earth. So the more you free yourself from your desires and not be shackled by your desires, the more you will be lifted to the heavens. Beautiful. So it shows us here, which we are close to Ramadan now, inshallah ta'ala. It shows us here that when you feed your soul more, you feel more lighter. And this takes you to the heaven and makes you like an angel. Although you are not an angel, but you have the characteristics of the angels, which is the soul, the ruh. And you have a share as well of animalistic share, if you want, with the other animals, the desires. So the more you respond to that, the more you go down. So the balance is what we are after, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا, and we have made you a moderate ummah. So moderation between neglecting your needs and neglecting your duties. So you need to have the balance between your responsibilities and your needs and so on. So Al-Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala, he said that if you do know yourself and you knew that after death you will not die, your soul's still there, so the soul will not die, the soul will still there, and this is what you or what stays with you till you go to Jannah, and that's forever. Your soul stays with you. But your body, the soul will depart from the body, yes, but you still have the knowledge, you still have the records, you still have the memory, you still have all these kind of things, the good deeds. That's what stays with you. So be careful and cling to what stays with you, not what departs from you. So your body will depart from you, your soul will stay with you. What feeds your soul? The good deeds, the good character, the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the knowledge, and so on. Then Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala says, if you want more of this, you can seek it in our book, Al-Ihya. He has a special book as well in Al-Ihya, or chapter, let me say, Dhikr al-Maut, the remembrance of death, which he more likely summarized from that one. But he said if you want more, you can go and read it in Ihya Ulumuddin, rahimahullah ta'ala. And by the way, this very book, Al-Arba'in fi Usul al-Din, although it's a summary of Al-Ihya, but nevertheless, Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah, when he wrote this book, he wrote it like the last chapter of Jawahir al-Quran, another book by Imam al-Ghazali, the jewels of the Quran. So in Jawahir al-Quran is the book. The last chapter of the book is the 40 principles. So if you buy Jawahir al-Quran, you find the last chapter is this one, which is the 40 principles, Al-Arba'in. So just to clarify for you, as he mentioned towards the end, and probably we have mentioned this in the very beginning of this book. Al-Ghazali rahimahullah, towards the end of this journey, which is a long journey actually, the 40 principles, we went from Aqidah to death. So in each chapter, he divided the book into 4 chapters. One about Aqidah, one about sort of fiqh stuff, when he talked about Salah, Siyam, etc. And one he talked about good character. First he started with what you should avoid from the diseases and so on, and the last he talks about the good character. And in each he has 10 principles. So the sums sum of all of this will be 40, rahimahullah ta'ala. He finished his book, rahimahullah, and something he called it في مناظرة النفس. مناظرة النفس, probably that translation here, challenging the ego, but it's not the accurate translation actually. The accurate translation, or close to the meaning in Arabic, is having a debate with yourself. So you are talking to yourself as you look at the mirror sometimes and you start talking to yourself, or without a mirror sometimes you start talking to yourself. I'm pretty sure you came across this. If you didn't do it yourself, you came across this sometimes. You see somebody in the street talking to himself. Yes, even if he has no headphones or he's not talking on the phone. So Ghazali here, he is talking to himself, and this practice is a common practice, by the way, among the scholars of spirituality and tasawwuf and so on. We've seen this, for instance, by Imam al-Muhasibi, the 3rd century scholar, way before Imam al-Ghazali. So yes, they do this practice. They talk to themselves and then give advice to himself and say, what's wrong with you? Why you're doing this? Why you're doing that? Why you are lagging behind? Why everyone is ahead of you? Why this? Why that? And you are longing to the dunya, and you see the dunya worth nothing. It's like this, yeah. So Ghazali here is doing the same thing. We see as well Ibn Ata'illah Secondary, rahimahullah ta'ala. He has something like this, Hikam, and he finished his book Al-Hikam in something similar and not similar in somehow. He finished his book, rahimahullah, by Al-Munajat Al-Ilahiyah, the intimate discourse. Is calling upon Allah Azza wa Jal. Yes. So for instance, he says, Ilahi, أنا الفقير في غناي فكيف لا أكون فقيرا في فقري. My Lord, I am poor even if I'm rich. So what about if I am very poor? So I'm so in need of you. So this type of thing. So it's a common practice by the scholars. So Ghazali here is talking to himself, if you want, and talking to us. So after he finished his book, he said, you should know that we have alerted you and made you excited about certain things. So if you turn away from listening, or you are listening just with your ear, not with your heart, you should know that you have a big loss and you have wronged yourself. And then he quoted an ayah from the Quran, وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ ذُكِّرَ بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِ فَأَعْرَضَ عَنْهَا. Who is more wrong than he who's reminded of his Lord's signs, then turns away from them and forgets what his hands have put forward. So be careful. But if you, on the other hand, were listening as an intelligent person, very keen to listen, and you were thinking deeply about what I have said in your heart, and you were listening attentively, then you should leave behind anything that obstructs you from following the straight path. And you should know that nothing can obstruct you from this but the love of the dunya and ghafla from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the last day. So he identified three things. Yeah. So what obstructs you from and prevents you from following the straight path? Hubbud dunya, love of the dunya, number one. Ghafla, heedlessness, number two. From Allah. And heedlessness, number three, from al-yawm al-akhir, the last day. And he's prescribing for us a program which we can inshallah ta'ala put it in practice for Ramadan. We can start this practice in Ramadan. We tailor it, of course, to suit us, inshallah ta'ala. He said, number one, you should exhaust your efforts to empty your heart every day, an hour after Fajr prayer. And why Fajr prayer? Because Fajr time is the time of serenity and tranquility and clarity. So you think about your own self, your own stuff. You look at your beginning, your end, and you take yourself into account. Take account of yourself and say to it, I am a traveling merchant. My profit is eternal joy and meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, he's giving an example just to make us connect and understand what he's saying. So say to yourself, I am a traveling merchant. So actually we are traveling. This journey, since we're born, we are on a journey. Year one, year two, stage one, stage two, station one, station two, junction one, junction two. We are on a journey to the akhirah, to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I am a merchant, traveling merchant. And the traveling merchant, what is his aim? Why do you do business in the first place? Why do you do these travels? Why do you travel in the first place? Because you want to make money and you're living and make profit. So my Prophet is, so tell yourself, my Prophet is eternal joy and meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at this incomparable Prophet. So I'm traveling this distance, all these miles, carrying the burden and striving and struggling. And what's the reward? Everlasting joy and meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And my loss, of course, for any merchant, you have the profit and the loss. And my loss is eternal sorrow and being veiled from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all of us will make this journey, but the end result will be different. For somebody who has taken this route, it is a journey. He will end up in eternal bliss. Somebody who took the other route, he will end up in eternal regret and sorrow. So what is the loss for this trade? Everlasting pain. And on the top of this, he will be veiled from Allah Azza wa Jal. كلا إنهم عن ربهم يومئذ لمحجوبون. Allah says, no, on that very day they will be veiled from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from their Lord. They will not see Allah Azza wa Jal, because it's the best reward. People of Jannah, after they will be admitted to Jannah, their best reward, the pinnacle of their reward, is to see Allah Azza wa Jal. And the most regret they have, people of hell, that they won't be able to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's another pain to the pain which they have already. And then you say to yourself, my capital is my lifespan. As a merchant, you have a capital. What is your capital? How do you do business? You do business with your capital. If you have no capital, you can't do business. Yes. So my capital is my lifespan. And every breath I breathe is a treasure among treasures and a jewel among jewels. So through it, eternal joy is attained. And what treasure is greater than this? And you can see Ghazali is talking about jewels and so on, because his book is the jewels of the Quran, Jawahir al-Quran. And this is, in Arabic, we call it balagha. So it's balagha. So he's finishing his book and connecting the meanings to the name of his book as well. So what Ghazali is saying, rahimahullah, here, that yes, our capital is our lifespan. Every breath we take, this is our capital. So you take this breath, it will never come back. That's it, gone. So you either use it and utilize it in goodness with the right intention, with the right action, and it will be recorded for you. You will be rewarded for that. Or you utilize it in evil and bad things, and it will be recorded against you. So every breath you take, it's your capital. Through that capital, you get the eternal bliss from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you tell me, what treasure is greater than that? Then Ghazali says, when life ends, trade and business is cut off and despair occurs. When the life ends, that's it. You can't add to it anything. Of course, you might say in the hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, إِذَا مَاتَ ابْنُ آدَمُ قَطَعَ عَمَلُهُ إِلَّا مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ. When the son of Adam passes away or dies, his action will finish, put to an end, except three things. So you can still add to your actions, to your book of deeds, from three channels, can feed into your account. Ilm, you left behind legacy of knowledge. People are benefiting from this knowledge. So this will feed into your account. Number two is a righteous offspring. They do dua for you, they do good things for you and gift it to you and so on. Or sadaqah jariyah, recurrent charity. You established a hospital, you established an orphanage, you established a school, you established a mosque or something along these lines. But nevertheless, you yourself, you can't do anything anymore now. Done. انقطعت التجارة. By death, the business would stop. The owner now, your heirs. So it's not getting into your account, it's getting into their account now. They were to gift it to you, it's a different story. And then tell yourself, this day, today, is a new day. And Allah has given me another chance. And if He were to take my soul now, I would have wished that I will get back to the dunya to do more good. Then Ghazali says, oh my nafs, if you were to die now, and if you were to be given the chance to go back to the dunya for one day, what are you going to do with this one day? And look at yourself. If you were not to be given this chance, then you will regret. But you have the chance now. So imagine this day is your last day. What are you going to do? And every day, consider it like this. Let me pause here. We still have something, inshallah, to cover for next week. I don't want to rush it because it's so beautiful reminder. It's just talking to ourselves and tell us, okay, how to sort ourselves and get back with motivation, inshallah ta'ala. So let me open the floor for your questions.
Jazakumullah khairan, Sheikh, bringing Ghazali's final chapter alive, and especially with that beautiful opening example of the cave and bringing the jewels back. If we have any questions, please raise your hand or put them on the chat. And while they're doing that, Sheikh, how do we develop that certainty in us that we are in the cave and these jewels are around us, but we aren't availing of these jewels? So how do we motivate ourselves to know that this is the reality?
By trusting the call. It's you just went to that cave because the caller said go to that cave and do 1, 2, 3. So for those who did listen to him and carried the command properly as they received it, and they've done the job properly, they will not regret it. But for those who were just joking and mocking and ridiculing and having fun, they will regret it. So it's about the source of the call, trusting the call, trusting the caller, trusting the Quran, trusting Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the more you know about Allah, the more you know about His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the more you trust the call, the more you work and strive towards pleasing Allah Azza wa Jal and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Jazakumullah khair, Sheikh. And do those people carrying the jewels in the darkness get glints from the jewels maybe every now and then that, reinforce their iman?
Of course, this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is why I mentioned earlier, this is not the perfect example, can be improved. We can cut and paste and do some polishing and some adjustments to the example. These tools, yes, of course, it will reflect on you, but nevertheless, whilst you are carrying them, they are heavy, so you won't enjoy unless you have the mindset that I'm doing this to please Allah Azza wa Jal, to respond to His call. Then you enjoy the task. Otherwise, it will be a painful task with no enjoyment.
That's a beautiful answer. Jazakumullah khair. Auntie Shanaz, you have a question? Would you like to unmute yourself?
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My question is, when we die, obviously we have good deeds and bad deeds. So we suffer according to that. Most probably the ruh is suffering. But if we have done tawbah while we were alive, does that get counted in this?
Of course,
And the
definitely.
end deeds
Yes,
become...
Tawbah is a deleter of the sins, unless these sins were related to people's rights. So the sins in general are divided into two main divisions. One between you and Allah, so the owner of the right is Allah. One between you and the people, the owner of the right are the people. So what is between you and Allah is enough to make tawbah and istighfar and remorse and regret and decide not to go back to this. This is enough.
Okay.
What is between you and the people is not enough to do tawbah and istighfar and ask Allah for forgiveness, and the rest of it is not enough. You need to ask whom you have wronged to forgive you in order to be forgiven.
So if we can't get to the person, or is unable to get to the person, or you're too much of a regret that I've done so much bad, and the person won't forgive you, like, then what
Yeah,
happens?
we have the discussion on this issue many times, but the short answer, there is a narration in Tabarani, as far as I remember now, that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned that if you were to seek forgiveness sincerely from somebody whom you have wronged 3 times, and he insisted that he doesn't want to forgive you, you are forgiven and he takes the sin. So you do your best. Try as much as possible. What if he was or she was passed away? What can I do with that? It's enough for you to regret it, to ask for forgiveness, do charity on their behalf, do good deeds on their behalf, until you feel it's satisfied, inshallah ta'ala, or you've done something to compensate what you have done.
Yes, I had a friend, there were 2 girls had friction. So one of them said sorry to the other person. Say, sorry, just forgive me. And the person who's supposed to say, okay, she said, I can forgive you, but I cannot forget.
Okay, this is shaitan playing here. Sometimes depends on the details. But sometimes, yeah, it's the best remedy actually to forgive and forget. Otherwise, it brings the pain back and it ruins the good things. Don't do this. Don't just forgive, but don't forget. No, this is wrong. You forgive not just for their sake. You forgive for your sake, because it sets you free. When you forgive and forget, it sets you free. It gives you lightness.
That's right.
Otherwise, you are shackled to these bad memories, and the rewinding button is in Shaitan's hand. He keeps pressing it to ruin your good things.
Yeah.
And the moment you see that person, he regretted 1,000 times, but you can't forgive him and you can't forget about it. It ruins your good things.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Just forgive and forget. I know it's not easy, but you can train yourself and ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give you the ability to do so.
But by this, I think some people got very hard heart, what you call it. They just don't want to.
You try. Of course, not all people with the same softness of the heart, and you try and ask Allah Azza wa Jal to soften their heart. What can you do?
Yeah. Just pray for them.
Yeah.
Jazakumullah khair, Auntie. And just to end with the last question we have, which is, how do you know, how do you balance between doing too little and doing too much? What's an appropriate load?
Too little, too much. We have a standard. The standard which we have, the obligations. The obligations are the standard. Below this standard, it's unacceptable. Anything beyond that, it's good, inshallah ta'ala. So you have the standard is the obligations. That's it. So you want to do extra, you do the sunnah and nawafil and so on. You want to do extra, then volunteer and do stuff and so on. But the standard that is not acceptable to go below is the fara'id, the obligations. And this is how you measure yourself. Am I doing too little or too much? See if you are going the obligations, and above the obligations a bit, that's alhamdulillah good. Too much and you feel you can't keep it, then don't do too much and drop everything. Do something regular, even if it's a little, of course, on the top of the fara'id.
Jazakumullah khair. And just before we go, Sheikh, Sadaqah Jariyah, one of the things you mentioned at the end. So is it true then that children are Sadaqah Jariyah for their parents in everything that they do? It's every good thing that they do is credited to their parents' account, or just certain things, or things that are intended for them?
Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned in the hadith itself, waladun salih yad'u lah. So he did spell it. He said a righteous son or offspring that do dua for him, for the deceased. So if they have forgotten about the deceased, then he gets nothing from them. So this is why you need to keep doing supplications all the time to your parents, and gift the reward to your parents, and do charity on their behalf, and so on and so forth.
So if they were righteous children and they doing all their righteous actions and didn't gift their parents, then that's a real tragedy.
It's by default. If they were righteous children, they will do the dua to their parents. This is why the righteousness has been mentioned here. So this is by default.
And also for their grandparents, then they can, extension. Okay, Jazakumullah khair for that clarification, and for the beautiful session, and to all of those who've joined us this evening. And inshallah, we'll see if we can finish next week.
Inshallah, we still have a couple of pages. More likely, inshallah, we will finish next week, bismillah.
Inshallah. Okay, and we will be having Taraweeh at Islamia School, inshallah, for those who wish to join. And the timings are on our website.
Okay. All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم تب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولأزواجنا وذرياتنا وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات واغفر لمشايخنا ومن علمنا ومن له حق علينا ولمن أحسن إلينا ولمن أحسن إليه صلي وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين آمين الحمد لله رب العالمين جزاكم الله خير السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته